the year, I don't even know what the year was when I bought that. Probably
That was
19. So you, so
that
you can
was
still see by the
seven,
marks around it and the,
yeah,
the old original
72,
artwork and everything.
72 that,
Uh,
yeah,
so
72 that, 1972 that was, Paul.
1972. Okay, well that record sort of dates me then, doesn't it, Don?
Yeah, well, I remember that our first trip to Australia, '73. I mean, that was the biggest selling album there at the time, Paul.
And all right, I've got a quick quiz for you, Don. When you toured
Okay.
Australia for the first time, how much were tickets to see Slade at the Horton Pavilion in Sydney?
Well, I wouldn't have thought that was very much actually. What, a dollar? I don't know.
$2. $2.
Two, I won't far off that. But our first UK tour, because that tour was with Status Quo as well, and our very first UK tour was with Quo as well, and that was 50p, 50p a ticket. Yeah, needless to say, it was sold out.
Oh yeah. Look, I remember a couple of years ago. Yes, in the original lineup, I've only ever toured Australia twice. They toured here in the
Okay,
'70s, and they came back around 2004. Rick
wow.
Wakeman, we were having this discussion with Rick Wakeman when they toured Australia in 2000 in the 1970s. The ticket price was $4, and when they
Yeah.
came back for the second tour, the price for the car park was $30.
It's mad, and it's absolutely mad. I mean, I can see. I think it was Springsteen was here in Denmark a couple of years ago, and that was about sort of £100 a ticket. That was if you could get one. I mean, I find that ludicrous. I just find it just absolutely ludicrous.
Well,
And
we've
what the
got other
most
things to
crazy.
talk about, Dom. What we're here to
Okay.
talk about first and foremost is "Let There Be Drums." I'm going to get. I've got some Sandy Nelson trivia that we're going to throw at you as well, just to test
Okay.
what sort of a drummer you are. Why this song to start with?
Well, I tell you that how it came about was Craig Fenney, who was bass player on this project. He was with the Slade lineup when we went back on the road in 1992, and just for some reason, Craig and myself just kept on talking about this particular track. Let there be drums, and sometimes used to like sort of jam it at sound checks or something like that. And when he left the band, and then we sort of kept in contact because he was dealing in equipment and I was to buy equipment from him, and we just kept in contact. And when he left the band and I left the band, we made contact again, and we said about doing this project again. And I said, well, I've actually recorded a drum track for Let There Be Drums. If maybe we can sort of use that and see. And it was his idea to get different guest drummers on it, playing at a small piece each, and make it a bit of a novelty thing like that, Paul, and actually use the proceeds, if there are any, to for charity. Give it to charity because I don't know if it's the same over there, but with this COVID rubbish that's going on, a lot of the crews, road crews, lighting crews, technicians are just totally out of work. And what we do, we're donating all proceeds to them. We just sort of giving it all to them, and hopefully it'll help them out a bit. But I was amazed at the amount of drummers that came forward and said they would do a piece for us.
It's actually an
Fantastic.
incredible list of drummers that you have on
Yeah,
here, and let's talk about
yeah,
Bevan as well, because I'll be
yeah,
talking
yeah,
to
yeah.
Bev in another interview about this exact
That's right.
thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Bevan, like where do you and Bevan cross over? Because we're talking about the Electric Light Orchestra and Slade, two legendary bands of the '70s. How well did you know each other back then?
Well, actually, I saw really met Bev years and years before that when he was in a group called Denny Lane and the Diplomats. And that was way back in the '60s. And then when ELO formed, and then they were touring in America, and we were Slade were on the same bill with ELO in the States for a few concerts, and we sort of, our paths just kept on crossing, and we've sort of and he's from Birmingham, which is only about 10 miles from my hometown, Wolverhampton. So we used to play all the same pubs and clubs back in the 60s, you know. So we sort of knew each other. And like I said, we toured America with ELO in the 70s. So it was an obvious choice for Bev to be chosen as one of the guests on it.
And the move, of course, was the first time I heard of Bevan pre-ELO was the move. Slade hadn't broken at that point. They must have been this massive band for you at that point.
They were a great band. We used to go, there's the legendary club in London called the Marquee, which sadly is no longer there. And it broke a lot of bands back in the 60s, 50s, 60s and 70s. And used to get a residency on a Thursday night. And the Move had the residency on a Thursday night at the Marquee Club. And we used to go down and watch them. Great band, fantastic band that. And had quite a few great hit records as well, Paul. You know, and really that's how ELO started. With Roy Wood got Jeff Lynne into the Move with the idea of basically forming ELO, and that's how it started really. And Bev was obviously from the Move, moved along with Jeff Lynne to ELO.
There was, I guess, you know, with COVID, the obvious problems with recording this. How was it done? Did most of the acts, the artists, your friends do it from home?
It's amazing how things change. I mean, I did my drum parts here in Denmark, where I live now, as you know, and sort of send it back. They send the files over from the UK with the basic track down. I take the files to my studio, record my drums over the top, and send it back. I mean, and the same with the video we've done for it. Each of the drummers recorded their own video piece for the whole track as well, for the whole project. Like I said, I did mine in Denmark, just sent it back, and they just add everything together. It's incredible how technology's changed.
Sandy Nelson is still alive. Did you consider using him for the project?
It would have been fantastic. I mean, he was approached, but I don't think he plays anymore. But I believe he's got problems with his legs now, and he doesn't really play. But we got his blessing, and wouldn't that have been fantastic to have included him on the track? That would have been the coup de grace. That'd have been fantastic.
So we're going to test the knowledge of Don Powell of Slade here. I'm interested to see now. Fun fact, Don, Sandy Nelson had 10 singles with the word drum in the singles. How many can you name?
Drumming Up a Storm, was that one? You've lost me there. I should have done my research before this. You caught me out here. Was it Let There Be Drums Part 2? I don't know.
I'll run through them for you. So the 10 songs with drum in the title recorded by Sandy Nelson were Drum Party 1960, Let There Be Drums 1961, Drums Are My Beat 62, and Then There Were Drums 1962.
Oh.
Drum Shack 64, Let There Be Drums 66 in 1966. Wow. Let There Be Drums and Brass in 1969. Wow. Drum Tunnel in 1984, and A Drum Is a Woman in 1984.
Some of those titles I don't know, Paul.
Yeah, I was also fascinated to find out that Sandy went to school with Jan and Dean and Kim Fowley.
Oh, Kim Fowley. Kim Fowley produced our very first record.
Yeah, they were all school kids together. And wow. Sandy Nelson, here you go, look, I'm full of the trivia tonight, aren't I, for you, Don? Sandy Nelson was also the drummer on the Teddy Bears. To Know Him Is to Love Him, and Alley Oop by the Hollywood Argyles. There you go.
Kim Fowley produced our very first record back in 1966, before we were Slade. And
You've come full circle.
We were playing this club in London, Paul, and he was in the audience, but you could see him. He's so tall, he was like nearly 7 foot tall. You could see him in the audience. We didn't know who he was, and he came came back and he said he wanted to make us big stars and produce a record for us, and of course we knew of his sort of track record sort of thing, and his father. I don't know if you know this, but his father was the doc. Do you ever hear of a western called Wagon Train? Kim Fowley's father was a doctor in Wagon Train, Douglas Fowley. But a bit of useless information there for you. But yeah, I mean, Kim was great. I mean, sort of, we learned a lot from Kim. He was not a screwball, but I mean, we learned a lot from Kim.
Well, Let There Be Drums was the #1 hit in Australia, but not the UK. And also, Slade Alive was a #1 album in Australia, but not the UK.
It's on the wall now. I've got a triple gold award for Slade Alive from Australia from 1973.
It was a massive, massive hit down here, and that's from my school days.
I mean, I'll tell you what, though, of all the albums we've made, Paul, people always go back to that one. People always talk about that one. No matter where we go in the world, people talk about that one.
Well, let me quote a wise man on this record who said once in 1972, "To hell with America."
That was my quote. but would you believe, Paul, that quote was taken out when we released the album in America. that was taken off the sleeve. Yeah. Well, the thing is like at that time, Paul, there was quite a few English bands going to the States and not doing anything. Everybody was trying to copy the Beatles, if you like, and it wasn't going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of English bands that never kicked it in America, and that's why I made that quote. I thought we're not going to make the same mistake, and like I said, that quote was taken off when the album was released in the States.
Well, there's another quote on here that I really love that I want to ask you about. "I don't want Wings to get hoisted into the superstar bracket like the Beatles were. T-Rex and Slade can have that," said Paul McCartney in 1971.
That's right, yeah. It was right. That was sort of... I've met him a few times, and he always says, sort of, "Have you had fun doing what we did?" Sort of thing, meaning the Beatles, But no, it's always been great. And I must tell you this, Paul, talking about the Beatles now, Ringo Starr was on tour with his all-star band, and he was in Denmark, and I managed to get on stage and play with him, play drums. Yeah, that was. I mean, and I've got the photographs to prove it. He was great. I mean, we were backstage talking to him. He just like one of the lads, really, Paul, and it was great. I didn't know how much he wanted to talk about the Beatles, how much he must be so fed up with that, but he was okay. He was okay.
How do you rank Ringo as a drummer? So from drummer to drummer, right. where do you place Ringo? In a pecking order of Ringo or Charlie Watts?
Very hard. People don't realise some of the things that Ringo played back in the 60s that no one was doing then, Paul. Things that he revolutionised quite a few things on drums in those days that no one had ever thought of. And I think it's a shame that he's not given more credit for that.
We don't have an opportunity to really measure Ringo's live drumming with a live album, because it was never really the authentic Beatles live album other than that Hollywood Bowl years ago. But there was the Rolling Stones' Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. And in terms of live albums, there's 3 live albums that I put at #1, 2 and 3. And I won't say it in any particular order, but one is Slade Alive, the other one is Get Your Ya-Ya's Out, the Rolling Stones, and the third being The Who live at Leeds.
Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it? That's one of my favourites, that is, Paul, live at Leeds. Great.
The art of the live album seems to be lost these days, doesn't it?
I know. I don't know why that is. It used to be quite a normal thing way back then, Paul. But I don't know now. I don't know any live albums that are recent anyway. I don't know any really. But that's a shame, really. It's always I personally love live albums.
You had your magnificent songwriting moment in Slade with "Look What You Done." When that song was a hit, like that was a massive hit in Australia for a start. But when you first wrote that, what were the circumstances in that song being created? Who came up with it, and what was your part in it?
I wrote the lyrics, Paul. I mean, I'm totally tone deaf, and I don't play any instrument really except for drums. I write lyrics. I wrote the lyrics to "Look What You Done," and I used to have like an idea of the melody in my head, which I would try and sing to Jim Lee, which would take a long time because like I said, I'm totally tone deaf. But mainly all the songs that I was part of, then Paul, was lyrics.
I was made aware of a very funny comedy piece today, At Home with Vic and Bob. I don't know if you've ever seen it, where they do Christmas with Slade. Have you seen that piece?
Yeah, yeah, it was so popular over here, I tell you what, we couldn't go anywhere without people sort of shouting comments from the Vic and Bob series. Well, what happened with their Bob? They approached our office, Vic and Bob, and just said, "We're doing this thing, blah blah blah. Or we could doing like an a sort of a thing about Slade." And we said, "Yeah, fantastic." And I never expected it to be that good. It was fantastic. They did a great job.
So what was that thing with the water pistol? Was that something with you and water pistols at the time that they were doing, or did they just make it up?
It was something they just made up there, Paul. That was never anything that we were part of then, But now that was something they made up then.
Yeah, but you are definitely the happiest drummer in the world.
Oh yeah, yeah, great.
Last time we had you down in Australia was only just recently, QSP with Quattro, Scott and Powell. That must have been a lot of fun for you.
That was a great tour, that was. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been on the road, actually, Paul. The same with Andy. We've done a few gigs. Slade and Sweet have done a few gigs together. And I've known Andy for years. And the same with Siouxsie. Her first, when Mickey Mouse brought her from the States to the UK, her first tour was with Slade tour. And we've been mates ever since, really. And it was just, we'd all played together and a big concert in Germany, a big open air festival in Germany. And there's Andy, myself, and Siouxsie was sitting in the hotel bar after the show, just sitting around having a drink, just chatting. And it was Andy Scott who said, "Now this would make a good band." And that's how that was how that came about, really, Paul. We decided we'd got a few songs together, and we just rehearsed, and we actually recorded it at Peter Gabriel's studio, and we had a great time doing it. And then when Siouxsie tours Australia every year, she has done for so many years, and the album had a chance to be released in Australia, and then we said, well, why don't we go on the tour with Siouxsie, and we'll be the opening act, sort of do our 30 minutes beforehand, and it'll hopefully help promote the record, which it did. And that, I'll tell you what, that was one of the best tours I've ever been on.
What about all that bullshit that was going on with Dave Hill? What's happened with that now? Is that all in the past?
Well, nothing. I think more than anything, Paul, Dave and myself have been in a band together since 1963, right? And when we first started playing pubs and youth clubs, and for him to actually send me an email saying he didn't want me in the band anymore, that really, it knocked me about, that did, sort of things like that. He couldn't even pick a phone up if he didn't want me in the band. Why, sort of, we could have picked a phone. We've been like brothers, more than brothers, really. And I haven't spoken to him since. And be quite honest, Paul, I'm not bothered if I ever speak to him again. It hurt, to send a bloody email, and that's what hurt more than anything.
I mean, the fact that you'd worked together since, the late 1960s, that was more like a marriage.
Yeah, 63 we got together, Dave and myself. 1963 we were in a band together, and it was, I think that's what hurt more than anything, to actually just send an email, But anyway, there you go. It's up to him. It's up to him.
So Let There Be Drums, that's the June release. There was also that magnificent Slade compilation from late last year, around the time when I talked to Noddy.
Yeah.
That just incredible. Taking your entire recorded life, condensing it down into a couple of CDs, but the whole thing cleaned up, sounding so beautifully on sound systems in the 21st century. It's incredible, isn't it?
They did a great job there with the technicians with that. And I'll tell you what, that was a difficult project, that was, Paul, because I mean, we've been lucky enough to have so much material, you know, and so much backlog of stuff that it was hard to choose what to put on and what to leave off the off the CD, you know. But now I feel quite proud about that, Paul. I mean, they did a great job on it, and it's just nice. It was nice for me to listen, put it on and listen back, because it's been so long since I've heard any of those songs, and it was, now they did a great job there.
Well, Don, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. What a great story, and thanks for decades of music. You made me a very happy school kid back in the 70s.
Wonderful. But thank you, Paul, for making contact. It's been great, and I really appreciate what you've done, mate. Really, thanks a lot, mate. Okay.